If you've ever bought a notebook that is so beautiful, so divine, that you're convinced its presence in your life is going to turn you into a journaler, only for you to stop using it after a week, yeah, well, you are not alone. We've all been there, me included. And today I wanted to really focus the conversation on why people start journaling and then quietly quit, because this happens with so many habits that we try and introduce into our lives, not just journaling. But I think journaling is ripe for it because we can go into it with a lot of expectations. By far, one of the biggest obstacles that I think can get in the way, again, with so many things in our lives, is focusing on perfecting the aesthetic, the look of your journal. Now, I'm not even 30 yet, so it feels a little premature to hit you with a back in my day line, but back in my day, i.e. 10 years ago, when I was really into bullet journaling, this was a huge problem, I felt like, for so many people in getting into the bullet journal concept. Bullet journaling, for those of you who don't know, was a system of planning or journaling where you take a blank page and you create your own monthly spreads, weekly spreads, monthly tracker, habit trackers, all these things. And it leaned more aesthetically pleasing. People like myself posted videos on the internet showing their monthly spreads, and people tried to recreate them and got inspiration from each other. And it was this beautiful, almost artistic way to planning that was really captivating, and still a system that is around, albeit it's more so intended to be a lot more simplistic than what I think it kind of transformed into with the internet, but nonetheless, like, still a popular way of journaling for so many people, and it has its great perks. But when you're focusing so much on beautifying things, you're not necessarily always thinking about the functionality aspect. And the reality is, spreads like that in my bullet journal did take more time than just buying a predated planner or using a digital calendar. So there's a time commitment that's required for me to stay on top of that. And also, I feel like when you're focusing too much on getting it right, perfecting things, it can really hinder you from actually just committing and experimenting. You know, this is a perfect example of what I'm doing here. I made a completely different cover at the beginning of the year for this journal with metal foil, and I even stitched embroidery into the elastic band, and I completely reversed that within a few minutes. And this is where I think it's really important to remember that you don't have to get it right on the first go. You can continue evolving your journal. And I think that's where opting for systems that are popular today, like a traveler's notebook, like a leather notebook, like I'm using here, where you can take in notebooks, take out notebooks, and continuously make the system fit what your needs are. That's, I think, something that really helps combat that urge to get it right on the first try. There should always be an invitation to switch things up, just like me adding this junk journal that I never finished. It had a lot of empty pages at the back. So I decided, hey, let's just bring it back into my 2026 setup so that I can use the rest of these pages to fill it with fun, quirky things like these inserts that came with my new Kodak Charmera mini keychain blind box I just got. I did a whole little reel about this, but you know, this is a place for me to just like creatively unwind. And I like that I've introduced this option, but I can easily take it out if I don't feel like it's the season of my life for it. A lot of people, I think, can also look at their journal as something that they need to be inspired to do, whereas I look at it as something that facilitates inspiration in my life. So it's not something that I feel like I can only go to if I'm feeling called to, or I have a great idea for a spread or something I want to talk about. Sometimes I go there and I have zero expectations about what I want to do. I do this daily through my daily journaling, which I've talked a lot about. It's my stream of conscious journaling where I just let whatever comes out in my brain onto paper for one page, but you could do a timer and give yourself like that restraint of just spilling out whatever comes, and whatever comes might end up being something that can apply to other areas of your life. But I think attempting to write or doodle or draw or paste things in or whatever it is that you want to use your journal for, when you don't feel like you have anything worthwhile or valuable to say, is the times where I can have the most illuminating sessions, or it can help me pull myself out of a rut. Or sometimes not. Sometimes I just realize, wow, that wasn't my most creative or thought-provoking day. And that's totally fine too. And that's yet another reason why I think experimentation is so important. And I think about this all the time when it comes to the book world, because I am also a big reader and people often ask me how they can get into reading. They want tips, and experimentation is at the root of the tip that I'm always kind of shoving down people's throats, because I do think that if you give yourself permission to try and experiment with different types of genres, you will probably find a genre that clicks with you a lot more than others, and that can put you on the path for success. Journaling is the same way. There's so many different ways to approach journaling. It doesn't just have to be about talking about yourself. It doesn't just have to be about pasting things in. It can be something related to your favorite hobby. It can be tracking related. It can be more technical. Maybe you want to write, but less introspectively and more about the world around you. There's so many ways to go about it. I actually have a whole video that I just did recently about 20 plus different types of journaling styles that are all distinct in their own unique way. And I feel like there's gonna be one style within that video that clicks with you at this point in your life. And the thing is, as you go through life, there can be things that become more or less important than others. You know, at this stage of my life, I don't use my journal for my planning as much. I have my Filofax planner, which you'll see me do a little update in, that I use for daily to-do lists. But the more serious planning of like, I need to make sure I don't miss this appointment or this meeting or this deadline, that happens in a digital form, because that's just where I'm at in my life of like needing something that is consistently there, and I don't need to spend time at the beginning of the month setting up a monthly calendar or a weekly spread. So I've graduated from making those myself to using predated digital tools for that. But then also now I'm in a season of life where I'm tracking my reading analog, and I'm not doing it through Goodreads. I like the creative touch of doing it with pen and paper right now. It feels fun. I'm experimenting with fun designs each month, like I'm doing here for March. And I really wanted this month to bring back in some pasting in, because last couple months or the first 2 months of 2026, I've really just done pen and marker style spreads, and this one has a little bit more personality, which I think will be fun to fill in. But yeah, I'm liking this approach to reading tracking, but this is not how I have always tracked my reading, and it's not how I will continue to always track my reading. It's always evolving. Pressure to do something daily can get in the way all the time of turning something that is supposed to be fun into an obligation. And I really try not to have that relationship with my journal. This year, I've definitely added more obligatoriness to it, because I am doing this whole challenge of like writing 1 page of daily stream of consciousness writing in a dated journal. So if I miss a day, it is glaringly obvious, because it says, oh, on February 20th, you didn't show up, girl. And then the shame can proceed to follow, right? No, we try not to shame ourselves. Skips or breaks do have to happen. Although I will say I've been pretty consistent. I haven't really missed any day in 2026, which feels good. But this is something that I intentionally decided to do. I knew I wanted to make this a daily habit, because it is something that I know like makes me feel good, or even if it doesn't make me feel good, helps me work through things that otherwise there's not many other outlets that kind of give me that same experience. So in this case, I've added this obligation, but I don't necessarily think daily of anything is as important as having some sort of routine, meaning like that there's some sort of time of day that you envision for yourself that is ideal for you to spend time with your journal. Is there a time in your week where things are more quiet, where you envision journaling being a good thing to do? Or maybe you don't like quiet time or solo time with journaling, and you want to do it when it's bustling around you, and you find the time in your weekly schedule where it makes sense to do that. But I think focusing more on a routine and an intention for your journaling is way more productive than necessarily saying, I have to do this daily or I'm failing at it. Or if I don't do it daily, then it's not worth doing. It's like kind of going back to that idea of perfectionism that I brought up at the beginning of this video. When we set these like extremes on us, extreme expectations, it's really hard to meet those. And that can just add this unnecessary disappointment that really like we don't need to feel. It's great to like try and commit to something and to work towards something, but you can always start again. I'm always constantly refreshing, resetting so many different areas of my life, journaling included. A really practical takeaway from that point is to recognize what kind of person you are. Are you someone who is easily unmotivated if you start quote unquote failing at something, because if that's the case, then buying something predated like I have for 2026 and committing to a year-long journey might not be the right approach. Maybe you got to go for something undated where there's an invitation to pop in and pop out when you feel inclined to have a journaling session. Going to your journal only when you are struggling, when you're stressed, overwhelmed, when you need to work through something that's weighing on your brain. These are all things that, although like I love using my journal for this purpose, if I only go to my journal when I'm in these moods, then it creates this negative association with journaling. All of a sudden, this is something that makes me think about struggle and pain. And like that is not necessarily like the most welcoming, exciting thing to look at or to have in my environment. Part of the reason why I'm doing stream of consciousness journaling daily is because I do find it the most helpful when I'm in times of woe. But then I feel like I'm only ever complaining in my journal. And I feel like by pushing myself to do it daily, there are days where I'm only talking about things I'm grateful for and I'm appreciative of, or I'm talking about a random memory that just makes me feel good. So doing that consistently allows me to have both types of experiences when it comes to writing personal thoughts. But I also like the fact that even if I was just using my journal for that purpose of journaling when I'm feeling like I need it from a cathartic place, that there are other things that also are contained within my journaling environment. There's places for me to write good memories. There's places for me to talk about books. There's places for me to write down quotes and notes of something that inspired me. Basically balancing out any of the heaviness with also some lightness. And I obviously have like a lot of different types of journaling that I'm doing in all of my ecosystems. So maybe that's a little like too much to take on. But I think if you're going to do something a little bit more serious, maybe also countering it with something more playful can help make it feel a little bit more neutral. I'm curious to know though, if you own a journal, if you journal, what is the thing that keeps you going back to your journal? How has this system evolved for you if you have been someone who journals for a long period of time? How do you get yourself back into journaling after periods away from it? All of these things, like so fascinating to hear different perspectives on. If you enjoyed hearing me yap while also seeing my new updates for my journals in March, then hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. I'll see you guys soon with a new one.